Everyone, in this lesson we'll be covering the Hackerrank easy rated algorithm called repeated string. And what we're given is a string, and we're also given an n. And the question is saying, if we have n characters, 10 characters, and our string repeats to that character number, how many a's occur in that new substring? So if we took our substring and we made if we took a string and we made a substring that were 10 characters long out of our substring, copy and pasting it, no editing the arrangement or anything, how many a's would occur in that substring? So here we've got a string with 2 a's in it, and the string is 5 letters long. So if our substring were 10 letters long, we would just multiply this by 2, pop them right next to each other, and see that there are 4 a's in our substring. Hopefully that's clear. That's really it. And we will now head over to Replit and get to work. So I just did something really simple. I took the example of ABCAC, and instead of using n of 10, we're just going to go ahead and use n of 11, because that's really the only other kind of occurrence that can happen when you don't have an even split of n and your array or your string, meaning that n is not evenly divisible by the count of your string. Okay, so first things first, we're going to go ahead and turn S into an array, just so it's easier to work with. Arrays kind of are, or sorry, strings kind of are arrays, but that's not my specialty, so we won't really discuss that for now. And we'll go ahead and set a counter variable equal to 0. And really simply what we're going to do right here is we're going to count the number of a's that occur in our S array. So we'll write a quick loop for, I rewrote let. I don't really like using let here, but let is short for letter. So we'll just go ahead and write letter. For let in S, if letter equals A, we'll go ahead and counter plus equals 1. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with how this is working, but let's go ahead and print our counter here just to show what's going on. One second. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so what is our counter doing? Well, it's taking a look at our array. Our array starts with an A. The first letter in our array is an A. Is it an A? Yes, I just said it's an A. That's going to pop our counter up 1. Next iteration is a B. Is it a B? Is it an A? No, it's not an A, so we won't do anything. Our counter will stay at 1. Next letter is a C. Is that an A? No, our counter will stay at 1. And then our next letter is, of course, A. Is it an A? Yes, it's an A. Our counter will go up 1. And then, of course, we'll do one more iteration for our C at the end, and our counter will stay at 2. So that's just one way to quickly store the occurrences of A in our string. There's definitely other ways to do it as well. We're just going to stick with that one. Okay, so now what do we have? We have the counter. We have the number of occurrences in A, a number of occurrences of A in our string. So if our n were 10, and we knew that 10 were evenly divisible by our 5 characters, you could just divide 10 by 5, you would get 2, and then you could just go ahead and multiply our counter by 2, and that would give us the answer. That would give us 4. You'd have 2 a's that appear 2 times, because the substring would be 2 of our strings. But we're not doing that. We're using 11. And so what would happen in the case of 11? Well, we'll just copy and paste this really quickly to show what would happen. I'm sure most of you already know, but so this is what would happen. You would wind up with this. You'd print 5 characters ABCAC, 5 characters ABCAC. That's 10 characters total. And then you'd start again a third time, but you would just print the A. So how can we actually just get that A and keep track of it? Okay, so we have a counter keeping track of the occurrences. every time we copy our S string. Um, but what else do we need? Well, let's see how many times we need to print that S string. Let's call it repeats. And we'll write n divided by length of S. And that's really what I just said, right? You'll take n, okay, n is given, sorry, n is given. I was like, what is n? So n divided by S. If it were 10, or length S, sorry. Like I said, that would be nice and simple. It would just be 2. But what we're actually going to do is take the int of that. And I'm sure you guys are familiar, when you take the int of something, you're just rounding it down. So if you take 11 and you divide by 5, well, you would get 2 point something. But we don't want the point something. We know that we have 2 full instances of our string. So we're just going to keep track of that 2. Okay, so we've got a variable called repeats. We'll just go ahead and print it to make sure it is printing what we want it to. We'll go ahead and print repeats. And there you go. It prints twice because we have 2 full repeats. Yeah, try to think of that as full repeats. Because next we will handle the leftovers. So what happens after that? Well, a good way to think about this would be to consider how many letters remain after we divide n by the length of our string. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, but that would be a perfect scenario for modulo. So let's go ahead and print our leftover. And it should just be 1 leftover. There we go, we print 1. And why is that? Because 11 divided by 5 gives you a remainder of 1. So we know now that we're only going to pluck 1 letter from our substring, or from our string, actually, not our substring. We're only going to pluck 1 letter from our string. So we can go ahead and loop through our string and just pluck the first letter of it and see if that is an A, and then we can add that to what you'll see shortly. So for n in range leftovers. For n in range leftovers. And why is that? Because that says how many instances of our S string, or we're really working with an array, how many instances of our S array are we going to evaluate to see if those are A's or not? In this case, it's just going to be 1. So we will just evaluate 1. So we can say if Sn equals A, we can take, let's set an extras variable, or extra A's variable, and we'll set that equal to 0, and then we will go ahead and store that here. So it'd be extra A's plus equals 1. And just to reiterate, so what are we doing here? We're taking a look at our string. We are evaluating our string up to how many leftovers we have. We know that there's only 1 leftover, so we're only going to evaluate the first letter. We're going to look at that letter, evaluate whether it's an A or not, and if it is an A, we're going to add that to our extra A's variable. Okay, so what are we going to return now? Or what can we print? Well, we can take our counter. Let's go ahead and just print this. Let's print our counter times our repeats. Because what's our counter? Our counter is how many A's occur in our string, and our repeats is how many times our string occurs. So our counter will be, what is it? It's 2 times 2. We've got 2 A's in our string, and we know we're going to have 2 full repeats. So 2 times 2. And then we'll go ahead and add our extra A's at the end. And this should return 11. Leftovers is not defined. Leftover and leftovers. Let's go ahead and change that to leftover. That should fix that up. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, and we get 5. So we get two A's for each of our repeats. We do 2 full repeats, so that's 4 A's, and then we get 1 extra A at the end because the N is 11, not 10. First letter of our string is A. Add 1 last A, and that's our extras. And this should solve it. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this over to Hackerrank. Okay, let's get everything formatted. This isn't quite Hackerrank format. Whoa, not bad. Just want to go to this line and this line. I think that should do it. And of course, return. Return, always return. Okay, and let's run that. Awesome, passed both of our test cases. We'll run it against, or both of our sample test cases. Here's it against all of our test cases, and as you can see, we pass. So pretty simple question, not too complicated. I hope everybody followed. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them down below. I also recognize that this might not be the most optimized code. So if you have a better way of doing it, seriously, please go ahead and share that. I'd love to see what you did to solve this problem. And if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit like. And we cover algorithms just about every day. So go ahead and pop subscribe if you're currently covering algorithms. But thanks for watching, and hope to see you in the next one.